book friends, what's up? It's Diana and I am here with my Nerdcon Stories experience and overall thoughts. Last month, as a lot of you know from my announcement videos, I went to Nerdcon Stories. Full disclosure, I had never actually been to a convention before. There is a small anime convention that takes place at the college I work for that I sometimes attend, but overall I'd never gone to an actual convention. This involved a lot for me, booking a flight and a hotel, actually traveling to Minneapolis from New Jersey, and it was terrifying. It was very, very, very scary for me because I'd never actually done this before. Luckily, I went with one of my best friends, Amanda, and we had an overall great time. But I just wanted to make this video to talk a little bit about my experience at the con and what I thought about what I saw and what I heard, and just, you know, my thoughts in general. I'm gonna start by talking about some of the things I liked about Nerdcon Stories and then get into some of the things I didn't like. Overall, I had a very positive experience and I would definitely go again, and I am planning on going to more of these conventions in the future. Firstly, the atmosphere of Nerdcon Stories was amazing. You could tell that everyone really wanted to be there, that everyone really loved stories and celebrating the way stories are told, and you could just, there was a lot of excitement and love and passion in the air, and you could feel it, definitely. I was a little nervous about this actually because Nerdcon Stories was an interesting blend of fandom and academia, and sometimes those avenues don't meet very well. A lot of the times they do, but sometimes they diverge and it can be a little bit tricky. I am absolutely a fangirl. I write fan fiction, I make fan mixes, I participate in meta discussions, I am on Tumblr, I'm a total fangirl. I also study English literature. I have my undergrad degree in English Lit and I'm getting my master's in English literature and creative writing. So I come from both areas and I find that it blends very well for me, but a lot of people do not have a similar experience. But overall, I really liked that it was half academia, half fandom because it brought the best of my worlds together and I got to hear very smart people talk about very smart things very passionately, and it was great. The people were great, and I mean the con-goers, I mean the panelists, I mean the fans. Everyone was super polite and respectful, and they were having such a great time, and we were having such great discussions. The people were just, they were my people. I loved meeting everyone. I got to meet Matt Inez from My Name is Matt Inez and Caitlin from Book Chats, and I swear to God, those girls are so awesome. I was so nervous actually when I met them. I'm really awkward sometimes in person, and I actually saw Matt Inez before I approached her. I was actually too afraid to approach her initially, and then I was like, you know what, I said that I was gonna meet this girl here, so I have to actually talk to her or else she's gonna think I'm a total spaz. So I went up to her finally, and she was just delightful. It was so fun getting to sit in a room with her and hear these people talk, and like both of us were tweeting out things and we just kept looking at each other going, yeah, I mean, yeah. And Caitlin actually held seats for me and my friend Amanda, and she is one of the most put together people I've ever met. I mean, she's got a plan for everything. I feel like she's got this adult thing down. She's got a great head on her shoulders and she's so sweet. So that was definitely one of the big highlights of the people to me, getting to meet these two ladies who were so wonderful, and it was so cool. The panelists were really interesting and there was a lot of diversity within the panelists, although I don't think it was utilized as well as it could have been for some of the panels, and I'll get to that later. But I picked up a lot of books that I never would have picked up before because I thought their authors were just so cool. Just the way they presented themselves, the way they spoke, the things they're passionate about. I was exposed to a lot of great people and a lot of great literature, and overall I thought that was really awesome. I really enjoyed the panels. I thought they had some really great discussion in them. I thought they were very important. I was never bored in any of the panels. I just really enjoyed being able to listen to these people talk about these important topics. Diversity, sex and why literature, tropes, different mediums for telling stories. It was just a plethora of information and discussion I really enjoyed being a part of. I cited a few of the comments some of the panelists made, but overall I felt like everyone really knew what they were talking about and they were presenting their information in an interesting and informative way. This isn't really a plus per se, but I did ride in an elevator with John Green and his assistant. That was very interesting. It was like 8 in the morning and I'm not a morning person, you guys. I was exhausted. So Amanda was ahead of me getting into the elevator and I didn't notice that he was in the elevator at first. Then I looked up and I was like, oh God, that's John Green. Jesus, that's John Green. And I like panicked a little bit because I'm a weird person, and I also really believe in respecting people's spaces and their privacy. So I was like, oh man, is it rude not to say something? Should I just, he looked exhausted, by the way. He was very, very tired. But I was like, man, should I say hi? Like, what the heck? It's 8 in the morning. What do? I can't even talk But I think I just told him that I was glad he wasn't on fire, because the previous night he was on fire twice in his race with Maggie Stiefvater, and it was just a nice little moment where we all just sort of laughed and existed in the same space. And I just thought it was very cool. I will remember that moment for pretty much the rest of my life, I'm sure. Now for some things I didn't like. It was too short. There was not enough time to do everything that I wanted to do. And the bad thing about the way that this con was structured is that you often had to choose between not only panels, but author signings. They were all taking place at the same time, and no panels were repeated. So it wasn't like you could catch that panel later in the day. And for some reason, I think they only recorded panels that were happening in the main auditorium. And that was another down to me, because the panels that I really wanted to go to that I couldn't because I had to prioritize another panel or meeting one of my favorite authors, I wasn't going to be able to recapture that in any way. But I did go on Twitter and I did check out some of the other panels via everyone's tweets about them. So that was a little disappointing, not being able to get to see or do everything I wanted to do. And 9 times out of 10, I chose the panel over the author signing because I thought that that was more important. But I did get to meet Maggie Stiefvater. That was the one time where I opted for the author signing instead of the panel, and she signed my book. I was hugely awkward. I don't even remember what I said to her, but I was terrified, and I think I was pretty weird. But I love that woman. I love everything she writes, and I was just so happy to have gotten to spend 5 seconds with her. And I mentioned this briefly before, but I don't think diversity was utilized well in some of the panels, especially the tropes, stereotypes, and misinformation panel. There was a huge lack of diversity in that panel, and I felt like that was one that definitely needed it. So maybe I wish that a little more thought had gone into who they would select for different panels. There was a little bit of hedging in the sex and YA panel that disappointed me, and I get that as a professional figure, you don't want to say bad things about your colleagues, but I do think that there was a way to be critical and respectful at the same time. And I have a serious problem when the worst thing you can say about 50 Shades of Grey and the writing is that the writing is bad instead of the rape and abuse culture it perpetuates. I just have issues there. And then there was some dancing around the definition of consent and how we define that I just really was confused about, because there shouldn't be any argument about what consent is. It's yes or no. I don't really know what that was all about, but you know, I get it. You have to be careful and you have to be respectful. And in the age of social media where everybody can tweet your quotes out of context and get you in a lot of trouble, I understand the caution. But I really wish there was a lot less eggshell walking in that panel. While I did not experience this personally, I did hear about it from a few other people that were at the convention, but some of the crowd control issues, especially with regard to the signings, were not handled very well. And I understand that a lot of the convention was actually run by volunteers, and it's hit or miss whether those people have any experience managing crowd control or even being involved in a convention. So I get that some of them might just not have known what to do, but I do recall there being one situation where I was sitting in on a panel and I had to go to the bathroom. And these panels were pretty much maxed out. Like, there were people waiting outside the doors for some panels because there were no seats left and they were hoping that someone would leave or something would happen where they would be able to gain entry. And so I had gone to the woman manning the door and asked if it was okay that I'd leave to go to the bathroom. And she seemed very uncertain, and she was like, I don't know if they'll let you back in, honestly, because there's a line out there and people are waiting to see if spots are going to open up. I don't know what's going to happen if you leave this room. And the guy that was working with her said, no, I think I can remember you, navy blue elephants, because that was what I was wearing on my shirt. And I said, yeah, okay, navy blue elephants. I will remind you when I get back. He did remember me, but there was a lot of instances where somebody was like, no, my friend is holding a seat for me, or my friend left to go to the bathroom, or I have to go to the bathroom. People were just trying to get in, and everybody was very unsure about how to handle situations like that. So I can see it maybe being a bigger problem elsewhere. Not sure how to solve that particular aspect. Maybe more training. I don't know, maybe mixing people who have experience with cons in with the volunteers. I really have no answers to that, but I did notice that there was a lot of unhappy people with how some of the things were handled. Other than that, I had a great time. The Minneapolis Convention Center was great. My hotel was attached to it, so I didn't have to do a whole lot of walking. I did get to explore some of the city for like dinner and after con events. Mostly we just stuck to our hotel because we didn't really know the area and we were exhausted, honestly. It was a lot of getting up and moving and figuring out where we were gonna be. That's why I didn't vlog. I just didn't think to do it. I'm so not used to traveling and having different places to be at different times, so that I just completely forgot to vlog, and I apologize for that. I wish I'd taken some footage. It's just poor planning on my part and lack of experience. But I had a really great time, and I was so happy to meet Maddie and Caitlin and just be among my people and talk about the things that I love with people who also love them. It was a hugely wonderful experience for me, and I really do hope to get to more conventions in the future. And that's it for me. If you were at Nerdcon Stories, let me know what you thought. If you weren't at Nerdcon Stories, tell me if you think you're going to be interested in going next year. And what conventions do you like? What do you go to? What do you wish you could go to? Let me know in the comments and you might give me some ideas. I'll see you next time. Bye!